So what has my coach been up to? Oh yeah? Filming 5 videos in one day, really? Is that why he appears to have on the same clothing for like 5 to 6 videos in a row? Is that why he has on the same clothing? Because he filmed all of those videos in one day, really? But he doesn't film the 5 videos every day, is that right? That's interesting. And so when his Heavy Tim followers think that he's actually chronicling his journey day by day, okay, it's actually a lot of filming done all at once, really. All right. And he just spreads it out over the course of a week or the course of a couple of weeks, really. All right, so how many videos behind is he? I know that he's prone to lose track of where he is in his posting other videos. But considering that he's filming 5 in a given day, and then he's posting them sporadically, do his followers, do they have any clue on what's going on in his daily life? Do they have any clue? All right, none whatsoever. All right. So what else has he been up to other than filming those multitude of videos and sporadically posting them, wearing the same clothing? As if we would not notice, days and days apart, even weeks apart sometimes. But what else has he been up to? Oh yeah, well, he was up on his riding mower, his new zero-turn mower. Is that right? He collected the boys around him, and he had told them what the name of the mower was going to be. And considering that the model that he purchased was called the Rebel, he designated that he was going to call his zero-turn Outlaw. He was going to call it Outlaw, really. Okay, now Rebel implies or refers to someone that does things their own way, someone that does things outside of the norm, or outside of the direction or the desire of society or of their parents or what have you, or of the school system. But now an outlaw, an outlaw is what the name implies. An outlaw is someone that has broken the law or someone that breaks the law. And as such, they are outside of the law. And normally an outlaw is someone that is exiled from a certain community. Either they're exiled or they are on the run, and they are outside of the protection of the law. And as such, they can be persecuted by anyone in general. So that's what an outlaw is. And an outlaw is someone that has isolated them from society in a fashion. And so I'm like, well, how appropriate that you would refer to your zero-turn as being the outlaw, the outlaw. And I'm like, well, did you actually share with your boys the definition? Or I should say, did Megan share with the boys what an outlaw really is? Before you got those boys so excited about chanting outlaw, 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 little Noah, the empty vessel. Ah! Okay. Did you share with them what it means? Or did you say, just say this word, guys? When I give you the countdown, when I prompt you, just give this word. Just say this word. Okay. Don't worry about what it means. Did you tell them what an outlaw is? Did you tell them that an outlaw is not someone to be celebrated? Did you tell them that? Did you remind those boys that even though you were incarcerated, even though you were an outlaw before they tracked you down and before they prosecuted you and before they put you behind the bars, before you went to prison, you were an outlaw? Did you share with the boys that you were an outlaw? Did you share with the boys that currently you're trying to portray yourself as being an outlaw because you've isolated yourself on that farm? And you try to do things outside of the norm. You try to create your own laws, so to speak. All right. You read the Bible sporadically, and you develop your own interpretation. You're not under the covering of any local congregation, any local church, any bishop. And so as such, you create, in a sense, you create your own law and you disseminate it. You institute that law upon Megan and the boys. All right. And you try to institute it upon Grandma Lily when she's not putting her foot down. Okay, but now if you did not share with those boys the definition of an outlaw, certainly at some point they will look it up and they will see what an outlaw is. and they will understand that it is not something to be celebrated. All right. But now when you're sitting up on that zero turn and the boys, you count it down and you say, okay, what name are we going to give to the mower? And the boys are like, outlaw, outlaw. And then he's like, what his name is? Now, we know, okay, us discerning viewers, we know that once you really got into it and once you got all amped up and hyped up about this name of outlaw, you changed it from being about the mower to being about yourself. You said, what his name is? And the boy said, outlaw. You said, tell me what his name is. His name. His name. And you weren't talking about the mower. You're not talking about the riding mower. You're not talking about the zero turn anymore. It shifted, coach. All right. Once you got your adrenaline flowing, once you got those boys hyping you up, you lost focus on the zero turn, on the mower itself, and you're actually reflecting upon yourself. Tell me what his name is. Like, Dad, you're an outlaw, Dad. One more time, boys. What am I? I'm an outlaw. Outlaw. You're all amped up and whatnot, coach. And I'm like, okay, coach, yet another flawed lesson, coach. We do understand that those boys have been trained in the art of deception. We do understand that those boys have been, they've been brought up in the way of mistruths. They've been brought up understanding that it's okay to stretch the truth. They've been brought up in that fashion, coach. And now yet you're trying to introduce to those boys that it's okay to be outside of the law. It's okay to be an outlaw. I'm not so sure about that, coach. I do understand that you predetermined what their futures will be. You predetermined what their professions will be, what types of trades they're going to collect along the way, when you're going to shut down their education, coach. But I would like to believe that you were not, you're not going to imply that those boys, just because you were an outlaw, just because you were a convict, just because you are an ex-convict, present tense, just because you are an ex-convict, that's not the way that the boys have to go. They don't have to travel the same path that you travel, coach. And so don't try to dilute it. Please don't try to dilute it with those boys and having them thinking that it's okay to be an outlaw. Okay, it's outside to operate outside of the law. It's okay. We really don't want those boys to get that message, coach, but we'll just have to wait and see how it plays out. Like I said, they've been trained, they've been taught in the ways of deception over the years. They've been taught that the truth does not matter. The only truth that matters around that farm is the truth that they're getting from their father, the truth that they're getting from my coach Tim and from y'all's pastor Tim. Okay. All right. So what else has he been up to? Oh, he's out there doing the P2P nodcast again. Is that right? Okay. All right. Well, we'll have to see what that entails. Okay. Nothing else? Oh, all right. Well, before I get into my reaction to the recent P2P nodcast, where my coach Tim talks about adding an extra year onto your life. I'm like, okay, all right. Talk about selling snake oil. Okay, you heavy Tim followers. Okay, please don't tell me that you believe that your pastor can show you how to add an extra year onto your life. And certainly don't tell me that you believe that he can teach you how to add an extra 20 years onto your life. Okay, talk about clickbait. All right, talk about clickbait. Don't fall for it. Okay, I know that you guys are prone to fall for whatever my coach and y'all's pastor comes up with. But in this case, adding an extra year on, adding an extra 20 years onto your life, okay, that would be false advertisement. That would be clickbait on a grand scale, though. But all right, before I get to my reaction, of course, I have to recognize you guys that have been active in the comments. Keep that dialogue going. Keep that commentary flowing both ways. Of course, I have to recognize you ready Tim writers. I hear what you guys are saying in the comments. I see what you guys have been saying. You're saying, Captain, some captain you are. And you're like, well, we know that you are the captain. And we know that Tim is your coach. He's your coach. But even though he's your coach, why is it that you call him coach? Why do you use that term coach so frequently within your videos, Captain? And I'm like, okay, hold on now. Now, the video that you're referring to was about Tim. Okay, you may call him Pastor. And if you were talking about Tim repeatedly, you would say, Pastor did this, Pastor did that, Savior did this, Savior did that, the Anointed did this, the Chosen One did that. The godly one did this, the godly one did that. Yeah. But in my case, he's my coach. He's my coach. I'm the captain of Team Tim, and as such, he's my coach. Okay. And so when I refer to him as the coach. So naturally, if I'm giving a reaction to one of his videos, certainly I would say coach repeatedly during the video. Okay. I don't understand what the issue is. Okay. You got to go through the math on that one. All right. I know, and we know that my coach, we know that he struggles with the math, but certainly some of you Ready Tim writers, some of you guys are proficient with the math. If I'm making a video about Tim, y'all's Pastor Tim, and he's my coach, certainly I would use the term coach several times during my video. Okay. And so the fact that one of you guys said, well, you need to count up how many times you said the word coach. I'm like, okay, all right. You can count it for me and then put it in the comments. All right. I understand that some of you guys are pretty steady with your research on these reaction channels. And so count up the number of times that I say coach, add them on to the number of times that I say coach in this reaction. Let me know in the comments. All right. You guys be wilding. You guys be wilding in the comments. All right. And as long as you guys are wilding in favor of y'all's pastor, okay, while you guys are wilding, I'm going to keep on digressing. Welcome back to the end game, where today I'm going to give my reaction to the recent P2P nodcast, where Tim talks about adding on an extra year to your life guaranteed. All right. Okay, Tim, be careful with your guarantees. Be careful. All right. Because one of your heavy followers may indicate that, okay, he told me, he promised me, he guaranteed extra time on my life. Okay. I don't want to call it a scam. I don't want to call it fraud. Okay. But he misled me. And one of you guys be like, okay, why am I on my deathbed so early when my pastor Tim guaranteed that I could have an extra year on my life? Okay. If he guaranteed that I could extend my life by 20 years. Okay. Why am I on my deathbed? I'm going after him. False advertisement. Misleading. But in any case, I'm going to give my reaction to that video here. All right. Tim talks, he starts out talking about the fact that we made it through another week. Okay. I'm not sure what type of prosperity gospel has you just making it through the week. And oh, by the way, Tim, you already divulged the fact that you filmed 5 videos in a single day. And so this video that you filmed may have been filmed on a Saturday or on a Monday or on a Tuesday. All right. And so, Coach, good gracious. Okay. So it's not actually Friday, Coach. So you're pretending as though it is Friday when you're doing this filming, Coach. Coach, we talked about the tangled web, Coach. We talked about how you get confused on when you're posting certain videos and how some of your videos are out of order. And so, Coach, if you get into this mode where you're filming Friday's video on Monday, you're filming Thursday's video on Tuesday, you're filming Wednesday's video on Sunday, Coach, it's going to be hard for you to keep it straight, Coach. Okay, it's going to be hard for you to keep it straight. All right, and then hopefully your heavy followers, they just listen numbly. They just listen blindly to what you're saying, and they don't pay attention to the detail. Okay, but you talk about making it through to Friday. Clearly, we can see that it is not Friday for you. Okay, and so in your scripting, Coach, it's a little bit off, Coach, but we're listening. Now, you started out with the fact that folks don't have to settle for giving 100% of themselves. And I'm like, okay, Coach, here we go with the math. Is this going to be one of those math/arithmetic videos, Coach? All right. 100% is all of you. Okay. And so If you're giving all of yourself, there is no way for you to increase it by 1% the next day or the next week or what have you. There's no way to do it, Coach. 100% is all that you have to give. Now, Coach, I do understand that you've been listening to others' motivational videos, others' motivational speeches, other motivational speakers. We do understand that, Coach, but you can't just go and listen to their message and try to apply it to your own P2P nodcast without understanding the background behind their message, okay? They're talking about increasing by 1% your effort. But you can't go beyond 100%, Coach. All right, Coach? But let's see what else you have to say, Coach. I'm listening.
P2P motivation, here we go. All right, y'all, we did it. We made it through another week. We made it to another Friday. And hopefully you all have been encouraged by the things you have seen on this Godcast, on these P2P motivations, on this channel, because we put in a lot of work on this channel so that we can help you to maximize and fulfill your destiny. So we can help you to not recidivize, but to overcome the things that you have been through and not return to those things that you have been through. But as we end this week, the thought that I had on my mind is that we don't have to stop at 100%. Be 1% better each and every day.
Tim talked about how in the analytics, and of course he's referring to the analytics of YouTube. He talks about how he saw that sometimes he could be 200% better. He could be 500% better. And that refers to potential. And with YouTube, generally speaking, the potential is infinite, generally speaking. And yes, depending upon your content, folks do have the ability to reach, to attain 1 million subscribers or 2 million views or 10 million views or what have you. But that's with unlimited potential. Okay, that analytics, those analytics, as they refer to publishing content, does not equate to a person's potential as it relates to them giving 100% of themselves. All right, Coach. Now, hopefully you get into this a little bit later. But if a person is only giving 60% of themselves, okay, if a person such as yourself is only giving 40 or 30% of yourself, all right, or in Grandma Lily's Resurrection Ranch's case, maybe you're giving 50% of yourself, then certainly you can increase that by 1% each day. Certainly you can double that at some point. So you can increase it by 100%. If you're only given 20%, you can increase that by 400 or 500%. But now if a person is truly giving all of themselves, that means they're already giving 100%. All right. If Megan is truly giving all of herself, all of her effort, all of her energy in the course of a given day, okay, she has nothing else to give. All right. And Megan was already on here with us, pleading for help. Okay. Making a cry for help, to us and to you, Tim, and saying, I don't have any more to give. I'm already at 100. And she's like, well, this mythical 110%, it does not exist in the real world. People like to say it. I'm giving 130%. I'm giving 100, 150%. It's impossible. Okay. You can improve upon what you were giving previously. Okay. But once you reach that 100% capacity, okay, once you reach that 100% potential, okay, you're capped out. All right, Coach. So don't confuse content with real life. Okay, Coach?
Because I think that I was thinking about growth, and I was thinking about how I've done some things in my life and kept up with analytics, mainly with YouTube. And at a certain point of our YouTube channel, the analytics said 100% better. And then at a certain point, the analytics said 110% better. And then at a certain point, it went from 110 to 120. And we even got to a certain point on our main channel, IAG Farms, where it said that we were 10,000% better. I didn't even know that existed. I thought that things stopped at 100%. When people say give 120 or 110%, I didn't know that was an actual thing.
Tim, my coach, all right, my coach, he talks about if you make $100 and you double that to make $200, then that means that you're 200% better. And of course, we know that's foolishness. Okay, we know that that's not mathematically correct. Of course, that would only make you 100% better if you double it. And of course, he talks about, well, if you go to 300, then you're 300% better. Okay, that's not true, coach. Now, fortunately, even though you were babbling on about this nonsense while you were filming and while you were taping, fortunately, it got caught in the editing room, fortunately, okay? And I would like to think that Megan was looking over your shoulder, or either you Googled, while you were doing your editing, you Googled mathematics, percents, and you realized that you were wrong. You were in error. I'm happy that you caught it. Of course, considering that you're scripting even these P2P nodcasts, certainly it would behoove of you to do some research in advance, coach. Okay, especially when it comes to the math and the arithmetic, coach. You already admitted that you don't like to embarrass yourself on camera by doing the math. Well, here we go, coach. When you're talking about percentages and growth, when you're talking about guarantees and you're talking about numerical guarantees for folks, you should have done some research in advance. You should have practiced in advance, and you should have had Megan watch you rehearse it in advance, coach. All right. But at least you caught it.
But in business, as I become a business owner as well, and a businessman, and you keep up with numbers, literally, this is a way to make it simple. In order to be more than 100%, to be 200% better than you were in business, if you make $100 this month, if next month you make $200, that literally makes you 200% better than you were last month. Like you increased double, you know what I'm saying? And if you make, $300, then you're 300%. If you make 400, y'all get the point. And then
Tim starts babbling about how it's easy when you're not giving any effort. And of course, he's given a confessional on this one. Okay. He said how it's easy when you're not giving anything to improve or increase your effort. And he said, well, when you're giving 40%, it's easy to increase that to 70%. And he's like, well, when you're giving 70%, it's hard to get that up to 80, 90, or approach 100% of your effort. And of course, he's projecting at this point. He's talking about himself. Okay. He's talking about the little bit of effort that he shows, that he demonstrates, that he puts forth around the IAG and around the Resurrection Ranch. And so I'm like, well, first of all, coach, we see your percentages. We see them on the videos, coach. And so who are you to coach anyone about approaching 100% effort? Who are you to approach them? Okay. Nothing in your life is 100% completed. Nothing in your life has had 100% of the effort. Okay. The boys don't get 100% of your effort. All right. Those farm animals don't get 100%. Those dogs that are being locked up in that little duck cage for hours on end, they don't get 100% of your effort or your concern. Certainly Grandma Lily doesn't get 100%. All right. And now even with the YouTube, with you filming a bunch of videos in a single setting, and then you sporadically launching them or sporadically posting them, YouTube doesn't even get 100% of your effort. Okay. And so how are you coaching? How are you motivating or inspiring other folks to approach 100% of their effort? Coach. All right. So remember, if you're going to be a motivational speaker, all right, those speakers that you've watched and that you've been inspired by, okay, they model what they speak. They model it, coach. All right. And so how in the world do you drag yourself out of your trailer, drag yourself out of your mobile home? Okay. Your partially completed mobile home, your raggedy old, decrepit sardine can of a mobile home. How do you drag yourself down and start filming these podcasts? What are you modeling for those that you're trying to inspire, coach? Okay, especially when it comes to effort, coach. All right, start showing us the effort. And then maybe we can listen to the motivation. Maybe.
Life, I think that when we're on a lower level, when we're first starting out, we can grow by leaps and bounds. Because it's like if you start out at 0, it's easy to go from 0 to 50, because you're still not giving it all. But once you get from 50 to 70, then it's like from 70 to 80, it's like the higher you get, it seems as if the more demand, or the closer you get to giving it all, is what I'm saying, is the lower percentage that you can increase. Because when you're at 0, it's not a whole lot to give 30% because you weren't trying at all in the beginning, but now you're trying just a little bit, and now you went from trying just a little bit to now you're trying more, so you can jump from 30 to 50.
All right. Once again, my coach Tim, he confuses effort with potential. Okay, so first he talks about you're achieving 100% of your potential. You're giving everything. You're giving all of your energy. Okay. And he talks about, well, go ahead and try to increase that by 1% each day. And I'm like, wait, coach, are you even listening to what you're saying? If that person, the goal is to get up to 100% or to approach 100% of your effort and your energy. And so if you have some followers that have achieved that, okay, they should be applauded. Okay. But now you're talking about somehow they're supposed to squeeze out an extra 1% each day. To the point that they've improved their energy, they've improved their potential from 100% to 107%. And I'm like, okay, coach, listen to what you're saying. Okay, so now if they're at 100%, there's nowhere else to go. All right. Now, if you're talking about them improving because they were at a 40 or 50% level, certainly they can increase that by 1% each day, coach. All right, but keep those two separate, coach. There's two different things. Okay, coach. You're getting them tangled up. You're getting them mixed up, coach. You're getting them confused at this point. All right, coach. All right. There is no 110%. There is no 200%. Okay. Unless you were at a lowly 30% level at some point previously, or a 20% level at some point previously. Okay. Then you could improve by 200%, right? By increasing your effort by 1% each day. But if you're already tapped out, coach, you're tapped out. Okay, but that's not a bad thing. That's actually a good thing. Okay, it's something that most of us strive for. All right, coach. But please don't confuse them, because you'll have your woeful Tim worshipers running in circles, chasing their tails, coach. Or maybe that's the objective, coach. Chase your tails and send me those donations. All right, chase your tails, but while you're doing that, send me those tips. Okay, while you're chasing your tail, send me those offerings. Send me those tithes. Just send them. While you're being distracted, send them. Hit the send button. Wow.
But once you get to 100% and you're literally giving everything you have, every resource, every amount of energy, every this, every that. And then I say, well, let's be better than 100%. And you're like, how is that possible? How is it possible after I've given everything for me to give more? I don't have any left. And my answer to that is be 1% better each and every day. And before you know it, if you're 1% better each and every day, at the end of the week, how many percentages better are you? You're 7% better than you were last week. And then if you give 1% more each and every day the next week, now after 2 weeks, you're 14% better. And before you know it, you're 200% better, 300% better, 400% better.
Tim talks about adding an extra day to your week. Adding an extra 10 years onto your journey, adding an extra 20 years onto your life. Okay, and of course, even the most ridiculous of followers realize that this is lunacy. It's lunacy. But he says it's easy. It's an easy principle. It's a foolish principle, but it's easy. And he's going to go about, I guess he's going to go about explaining to you guys how you can possibly do this. And we'll just have to wait and see what he has to offer in this case. But each week has 7 days in it. Okay. You cannot create the 8th day. All right. After 10 years of your life, you will have accomplished 10 years worth of activity, one way or the other. Okay. And then after your life has run its course, whether you go on to glory when you're 80 or you go on to glory when you're 90, there's no adding on an extra 20 years. All right, coach. But we can't wait. Go ahead, coach. We're listening. Tell us how to add on these mythical years. Tell us how to add on these impossible years. Tell us how to play God with our own lives. Tell us, coach.
So I'm telling you that there's more in you that you haven't tapped into. There's more potential that you haven't tapped into. There's more energy that you haven't tapped into. I've said before, I talked to my wife about this, and I talked to her about this principle, this mentality of adding an extra day to the week, or adding an extra year to the 10-year span, or adding an extra 20 years to your life. And it may sound crazy, but it's a very, very simple concept. Because if you wake up at, let's say, 9 o'clock every morning, and then you go to bed at 9 o'clock every night. So what will happen according to time? You know what I'm saying? We talk about adding more time to our week, more time to our year, more time to our life. Like we're talking about adding 20 years to our life. Like, is that possible? Yes, it is. Because think about this.
Oh, okay. There it is, Coach. There it is. There's the nonsense. I was waiting to hear it. But he's talking about if you get up at 6 and you go to bed at 6 and you say, well, instead of doing that, how about if I get up at 5 and I go to bed at 6, or get up at 4 and go to bed at 11, or what have you. And he's talking about adding on an extra day to your week. And I'm like, okay, Coach. First of all, if you're getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning and you're going to bed at 11, first of all, you're going to be sleep deprived. You're going to be sleep deprived. All right. Your body needs a certain amount of rest in order to be at its best. All right. It's not going to make you, it's not going to do you any good to walk around as a zombie. Your mental functioning, your mental capacity will not be at its best. Your creativity and your productivity will not be at its best when you're trying to survive on 4 hours of sleep. Okay. So first of all, that's what happens when you wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and you go to bed at 11. Okay. So let's get that straight. First of all. Secondly, Coach, what you're really trying to convey to your heavy followers, based upon the motivational videos that you've seen, is that if folks adjust the time that they wake up and they adjust the time that they go to sleep, they will have more usable time during their day. Okay. More usable time during their day. All right. Rather than them having 10 hours of usable time during their day, they may be able to push that out to something like 9, maybe about 20 hours. Okay. They can push it out to 20 hours worth of usable time during their day. All right. Not necessarily useful time, not necessarily productive time, but it's during that day. Okay, Coach, it does not create an extra day. All right. So go back and review your videos of whoever you have been watching. Okay. Modify your particular speech that you're trying to apply in your P2P podcast, P2P nodcast, and get it right, Coach, and then come back at us, Coach. Because right now you're just talking nonsense. You're talking about adding extra time within that day, useful time within that day. And somehow you're going to try to equate it to adding extra days onto your week, Coach. It does not work that way. We do understand that your family has chosen to ignore standard time. You have chosen to ignore calendar time. Okay, Coach? But you can't just make up the math. All right. Not in the real world, especially not when you're trying to share it with your followers, or you're trying to encourage or motivate your followers to be just like you. Okay. You can't make up the principles of time, Coach. You can't make them up.
If you wake up at 9 o'clock every morning, go to bed at 9 o'clock every night, you have a certain amount of hours that you have access to, that you used, that you utilized that week. Well, what happens if you start waking up at 8 o'clock and going to bed at 10 o'clock? And then what happens if you start waking up at 7 o'clock and going to bed at 11 o'clock? And then what happens if you start going to bed, waking up at 6 o'clock a.m., going to bed at 12 o'clock, and so on and so forth? And we get to the point to where champions are made, waking up between 3 and 5. What happens if you wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, 3:30, and then you go to bed at 11 o'clock at night? What happens to your time? You gain more. You literally gain a higher percentage of time. And you
nonsense. Nonsense covered in foolishness. He talks about if you follow this principle and you're adding on these extra hours by depriving yourself of sleep. Okay. You can add on an extra day to your week. And he says if you accumulate that, do that for the whole year, you can add on an extra year, an extra year onto your life. And I'm like, okay, Coach, what are we talking about here? What are we talking about? But he talks about how supposedly he's followed this principle this principle of lunacy. Okay, supposedly he's followed this principle as him being a business owner, as him being a YouTuber or a content creator, as far as him managing the different real estate. And once again, the truth is being free when he talks about managing real estate. Of course, he's not talking about the IAG. He's talking about the Resurrection Ranch or that Woodlands property. He's talking about him being the landlord of that property. And he's referring to Grandma Lily being the tenant, being on that long-term / lifetime lease over there as a tenant, and him being the landlord of that property. So when he talks about managing real estate, okay? But Coach, thank you for letting that truth fly freely, Coach. We do appreciate it. And you talk about some other businesses and what have you. Of course, we have to imagine that you're referring to your Facebook marketplace or your eBay or your flea market activities with these some of these gifts that you're receiving in the mail. Okay, with some of these gifts, some of these packages that you're receiving in the mail. We do understand that you're likely reselling them. And I guess you're counting that as it being a business unto itself. Okay, Coach. But applying this principle, when you get to the end of the week, you're still going to realize that you're at the end of the week. Okay. And when you get to the end of the year, you're going to realize the year is over. Okay. You can try to deny the calendar year. Okay. You can try to resist. You can try to ignore it, Coach, but you realize that the year is over when it's over. All right. But okay, Coach. All right. If it works for you, if the nonsense works for you, Coach, then so be it.
Literally you can almost add a whole year to your life. You know what I'm saying? Like you can double up on years if you do that each and every day. By the end of the year, you may have added 2 days into one, if y'all can understand what I'm saying. And that's literally I applied that to my life because I had as a businessman, as a content creator, managing these different channels, managing life, managing our real estate, managing some of the different business things that we have going on. It's like time is the most valuable thing that there is, because when you work for somebody else, you take your time and you sell your time.
Tim talks about how your time is your most valuable commodity. And it's really what you do with that time, by the way, Coach. I mean, time is valuable, but it's the value that's gained from that time. It's what's done with that time, how it's converted to energy that matters. But you talk about how you went from waking up at 6 to waking up at 5 to waking up at 3 o'clock. And we're like, okay, Coach, what are you doing with all that extra time? Considering that we know that you're going into the wee hours doing your editing, Coach. And so now, Coach, this might be the explanation, Coach. Okay. Now, there are some folks that think that there's being some alcohol. So there are some folks that have been listening and watching the videos that think that they suspect that there's some intoxication within some of these videos, some of these postings, some of these rants. Okay. So there are some folks that think that there's some intoxication. But one thing that does happen when you're sleep deprived is it affects your mental functioning, your mental capacity, your processing changes. Okay. And so, might this be the reason, okay, why we're hearing more and more odd comments come from your mouth, while we're hearing more and more lunacy, more and more anger, more and more frustration, more and more insecurity, okay? More and more mental instability coming from you, Coach. Is this because you're not getting enough sleep? Certainly you have a guilty conscience about certain things that you've done, Coach. Certainly we know that you have a certain level of paranoia, Coach, based upon how you've alienated folks and how you've snitched upon folks. So we know we have a lot of things. You have a lot of things weighing on your mind, Coach. Okay. The last thing that you need to add to it is being sleep deprived, Coach. All right. Your body needs to sleep. Okay. I do understand that most of your day is spent sitting up on your big O. All right. Okay. But you need to mix that in with an appropriate amount of sleep, Coach. Otherwise, there's no telling what's going to come out of your mouth, coach. Okay. You might start seeing demons on a regular basis, coach. You might start seeing haters on a regular basis, coach. You might develop this fixation on being some type of master. Okay. You may have developed a God complex. You may start to truly believe that you are Jesus. Okay, coach. Get some rest, coach. Get some rest.
And they give you money for your time. But when you're operating and running your own business, it's like it doesn't work like that. You know what I'm saying? Because you just need more time so you can make more money or more increase or more profit. And it's like time is one thing that I never have enough of as a businessman. And so I went from getting up at 5 o'clock to getting up at 4 o'clock to getting up at 3 o'clock. Why? Because I add more time. I take more time back. Like, I'm not giving time away. I'm trying to figure out, like, as a businessman, how to buy more time back or how to utilize more time. And that's my thought for today, or my thought as we end this week is, how can we be, or let's be.
Tim says, don't stop. When you've reached 100% of your effort, don't stop. I'm like, okay, coach. Coach, that's when you start hearing voices in your head, coach. All right. That's when mental illness starts to kick in for some folks. Yes. Okay. We do understand that mental illness is some type of chemical imbalance, but that's when we start being imbalanced, coach. Okay. We start hearing voices, and that's when we start to need some type of therapy, lest we wind up in some type of mental institution, coach. All right. If we ever get to 100% of our effort, okay, if we're ever working all this overtime, physically working all this overtime, okay, if we're giving it our all, truly giving it our all, and then somehow we believe that we need to give a little bit more, okay, that's when the breakdowns start to occur. All right. That's when the depression starts to kick in. Okay. Manic depressant. Okay. Things like that start to kick in. When we try to push ourselves beyond the limits, when we try to push ourselves beyond our limits, that's when problems start to happen. People start to break down, coach. All right. And I'm certain that you would not encourage your heavy Tim followers to suffer the fate that you've lined yourself up to chase, coach. All right. Or at least on camera, you've lined yourself up for that, coach. Of course, we know that you're not putting in 100% of your effort, coach. But some of your Ready Tim riders, they're approaching the 100%. And they're feeling like, well, it's just not enough. Okay. It's just not enough. I can do more. Certainly, my pastor, Tim, he's not trying to do more. He's trying to gain more. He's trying to accumulate more abundance in his pocket, okay? But he's not doing more. But he told me that I need to do more. I need to reach deeper, okay? Coach, give him a break, coach. Give him a break.
1% better each and every day. Let's not stop when we get to 100%. Let's not stop when we're giving our all. Let's not stop because we think like, I've given my all. I'm getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to bed at 10 o'clock at night. I'm giving everything I have. You know, I'm taking Saturday and Sunday off. You know what I'm saying? But there may be a season in your life where you say, hey, instead of waking up at 5 for a small season, this may not be sustainable for like forever, but I'm gonna wake up at 3:30. I'm gonna gain another hour and a half or 2 hours in the morning, and I'm gonna go to bed an hour later. And that's where champions are made. Like, if you're trying to start a business, that's your schedule. You have to.
Tim talks about waking up before everybody else, getting to the job before everybody else, and leaving after everybody else. And I'm like, okay, coach. All right. When have you modeled this for your heavy followers? When have you modeled it, coach? All right. Now, certainly you're probably getting up before everybody else. But you're not getting to the work before everybody else. All right. We know that those boys are going out and doing those farm chores. Okay. While you're still in your pajamas. All right. Maybe still laid across the bed. But we know those boys, they're getting to the work before you, coach. All right. You talk about staying longer than everybody else, coach. And I'm like, okay, coach, aren't you the one that quits first? All right. On that Resurrection Ranch, aren't you the one that's taking the most breaks? Okay. Aren't you the one that's up out of there as soon as possible? Okay, coach. And then when there's some work to be done at IAG, if by chance you come out to do some filming and to pretend like you're contributing, to pretend like you're chipping in, aren't you the one that's heading back? You're the one that's heading back to Emma or Emma. You're the one that's heading back to the mobile home while the boys are still out there working, while Megan is still out there working, while she's still out there, still out there babysitting little Benjamin or tending to little Benjamin. Okay, aren't you the one that's headed back to the mobile home? Okay, and so how are you staying longer than anyone else, Coach? Okay, when have you ever modeled that for us, Coach? It sounds good, Coach. It does sound good. But how about you show us what it's really like, Coach? How about you show us?
Get there, you have to get up before everybody else, you have to get there before everybody else, and you have to leave after everybody else and go to sleep after everybody else. And everybody's not made for that type of lifestyle. Like I say, you can't run a business unless you have employees. You know what I'm saying? So some people have to be employees, and they do a very, very good job at being employees. You have to have people working behind the scenes in order for the show to go on. But
all right, so Coach admits that after you've reached 100% and you try to do these fictional, these foolish increases, and you try to get up to 105%, that you may become burnt out. Okay, and so he says, well, if you get to the point where you're burnt out, that you get to the point where you're starting to come loose, you're starting to come loose at the seams. If you ever get to that point where he's saying, well, just sit there at 105% for about a week. All right, sit there for about a week and then come back at it later and try to increase from 100% to 110%. I'm like, okay, Coach, now you're giving medical advice, Coach? Really? If someone is burnt out, that's really a medical condition. Okay. Dare I say a mental condition, physical condition. Coach, but now you're giving medical advice and hey, sit at the 105 for a week. How about going back down to 100%? All right, considering that there is no 105%. But you say, okay, well, just keep on going, even though I haven't kept on going. All right. All right. Even though I'm doing the light work around this IAG, the light work being the content, the light work being the scripting and the filming and the editing. Even though I'm doing the light work around here, I want you guys to do the heavy work out there, okay? And once you've given your 100%, I want you to go to 105%, okay? And when you inevitably get burned out trying to chase the impossible that you got from my P2P Nodcast motivation, once you're done trying to chase the impossible, take a break, all right? Take a break, all right? And suffer through it. And then come back and watch yet another of my Nodcasts.
But I just want to encourage you that you can give 100% and the next day, just try to give 101%, and then if you get to a point where you're at 105% and you feel burnt out, just stop there, and let that 105% just ride out for a couple of weeks. But then you may get to another week and you may be motivated and inspired and encouraged. Go ahead and give 106%, 107%. And by the end of that week, you may have given 3 more percent, to whatever you're doing. So my encouragement is be 1% better each and every day. And if you're giving your all, as long as you're not burnt out, as long as you're not you've not maxed out your potential, as long as you've not maxed out whatever that thing is in that area, it's like continue.
All right. Tim gets confused. Of course, he gets confused in talking all this nonsense, double talking, talking in circles. But he talks about how you're getting to work early, you're waking up early, you're getting to work early, you're not getting to work late. You're not leaving early. And I'm like, okay, Coach. We've watched on video repeatedly how many times you've arrived at the Resurrection Ranch out at Grandma Lily's house later in the day. We've seen that a number of times, numerous times we've seen that, Coach. And of course, we've seen you hightail up out of there at the first opportunity, Coach. We've seen it from you, but you talk about how if that person is giving 100% of their effort or the 105 or whatever you have them chasing, okay, you talking about so somehow they're going to be able to spend more time with their family And I'm like, Coach, do you not realize? Well, of course he doesn't realize that is a direct contradiction, Coach. Okay, those business owners, those entrepreneurs that put 100% of their effort into their business, okay, they do it at the sacrifice of their family. Okay, they give up the time with their family, with their loved ones. Okay, those loved ones, they have to make compromises along the way. They have to make sacrifices. So the family sacrifices for the sake of the business. Okay, and so how in the world are you putting 100% into your business and yet spending more time with your family? It does not work like that, Coach. All right. Even in your case, where you're putting about 40% of your effort, of your true effort, into your quote unquote businesses, you still barely spend any time with your family. Okay. All right. And from what we see, you've got a good 60% of effort that you could put into those boys, that you could put into Megan, that you could put into Grandma Lily. And I'm not talking about into employee number one, Grandma Lily. I'm talking about into Grandma Lily as your mama. Okay. She's your family as well. You could be putting time into her, quality time into Grandma Lily, or quality time with Grandma Lily. Okay. So, but it just doesn't work. The numbers don't work, Coach. You can't be 100% business, 100% entrepreneurial, and still spend all this time with your family. Lunacy, Coach. Utter lunacy. All right. And so I can't take any more.
To try to be better. And as we end this week on this Friday for this P2P motivation, I just want to encourage you all with that, leave you with that, and tell you all how great of a job you're doing. You're reading your Bibles more. You're telling people about Jesus. You're showing up to work on time. You're showing up to work early. You're not leaving before it's time to leave. You're not clock watching. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're actually doing the job that you've been paid to do. And you're not just like on the clock, just riding the clock. You know what I'm saying? You're actually providing a service and making this world a better place. And so when it comes to business, when it comes to ministry, when it comes to family, you're spending more time with your family. You're spending more time with your family. You're spending more time with your kids. You're like locking in and being the best version of yourself that you can possibly be. And I want to encourage y'all and tell y'all thank you for being the best version of you.
I can't take any more of the lunacy. That's it. That's it for my reaction to this recent P2P nodcast, where Tim guarantees you, foolish Tim Faithful, that somehow you can add another year onto your life. You can add another day onto your week by following some foolishness, okay, by chasing your tail. Please like, comment, subscribe. You can share the video, chop it up in the comments. Burner Tim will meet you in the comments as usual. I want to shoot out some love to my current subscribers. Thank you for showing me that love. I appreciate the love. For those viewers that have not yet subscribed, please consider subscribing so that we can continue to shine that light. Until next time.